Now let's get back into it. We left off with in the middle of the Albagio game. Let's get started. So, when it's Kurasuno's turn to serve, Kageyama goes up for his little serve. And when he does, whatever that dude's name is, Oikawa, I finally got his name right, Oikawa hits the ball, hits it up, and then one of his teammates plugged my headset. So basically when his teammate goes, Christian's like, nope, and blocks that, making it go right back, and he says, dang. And then after that, basically, it's Kurasuno's serve, so Christian says, my turn, Kageyama, this is my serve. He says, fine. Christian spins the ball in his hand and then holds it and says, hits it up in the air and it says gravity repulse. Jumping point, and still everyone in the game is shocked how high this kid jumps. He jumps like he's on a trampoline. And of course, in slow motion, the coach on Albagio says, oh yeah, remember I said my name was Kazumi in the story because I just didn't want to say the name Kazumi because it's not me, but I also want to do that because it's fun. So he says, Kazumi Koji, probably the next one to Kurasuno's ace. Jump, he can jump like, he can hit like Oikawa and has the speed of the ginger. Christian hits it so high up that when he smacks it down, he's almost missing it, and smacks that down right past Oikawa and all the defenses. He says, yeah, we're doing it! Next is Hinata serve. When Hinata serves, it's a terrible serve. Hinata hits it, but then it's immediately strung right back at Kurasuno. Kageyama would go, then, oh no, actually. The ball was about to hit the ground, but Nishinoya runs right under it and hits the ball up. Then Kageyama goes for a serve. Kageyama would go for his ultimate serve, but the blocker's already there. He's like, this is not going to work out for Hinata. He throws it full towards Christian. He says, Hacha! Hits it right down past the blockers. He says, that pass is a little off, but it still worked. They say, yeah! Next up is Kageyama to serve again. So when Kageyama serves, it's pretty good, but it's hit up by Oikawa. Oh yeah, just saying the score is 20-20 in the final round thingy. Oikawa would pass it, would hit it up in the air. Then one of his teammates would come and hit it, and they'd do a serve. They'd do a quick attack. They'd flip it back, already go for the quick attack, and it actually works. Next is Oikawa's serve. Oikawa would hit it up in the air and get a free hit, and would get a point. So that's 22-20. Oikawa would serve again, hit it up in the air and smack it down. But Christian would hit it off his arm, but dang it! He says, Tanaka! Tanaka would hit it up in the air. Chris would say, Kageyama, Hinata, get ready for the quick attack. He says, why'd you say you're playing up? And then he winks and says, and Kageyama says, I hear ya. So he goes for the pass to Hinata, but then flips it forward to Tanaka. Tanaka would slap that ball down right to there, saying, they'd be like, yeah! He says, why did Hinata said, I still don't get what the point was that of you telling us our plan. He says, it's called winking. I winked at Kageyama when I yelled at my plan. No one really notices. He says, alright, so it's 21-24. I mean, it's 21-22. We're gonna have to do something about this. So, who's up to serve? He says, Tanaka is, I think. So Tanaka would hit it up in the air and smack it down. I'm not even sure if Tanaka can serve. Look, I don't get it, but whatever. He would hit it and smack it down. And it wouldn't really do a lot because Oikawa would just hit it up and then pass it and then one of his teammates would grab it. Well, not grab it, but hit it as well. And then they do a quick attack. But Hinata, Hinata, Suki. Suki go for the block, but then Oikawa is about to hit it. Kageyama jumps in to block it. Then he aims even more to the right. Person would say, "How about a 5-man wall? How about a 4-man wall?" Hitting each other together. And then they block it, saying, "Ha 22 to 23. We're on a roll. All right, guys, let's get fired up." So, Kageyama would be up to serve. He'd smack it. Oikawa would hit it right back at them. Christian would say, "Hinata, now!" Christian would run over and say, and flip and do the quick attack and serves it to Hinata. Hinata would smack it down. And Christian would say, "Yeah!" And Kageyama yells and says, "You stole our quick attack." He says, "I stole your quick attack and made it 10 times better." Hinata goes, "Oh!" He said, "How'd you make it better? It's the same thing as me." You see, and he said, "You see here, Hinata has more trust in me than he has in you. I've known him since elementary school, since we got into 1st grade. So, I'm pretty sure I'd know this way better than you." He says, "And you've only known him since the one middle school game that you doubted him in." And he says, and then Tanaka would say, "Come on, guys, stop doubting each other. Let's just get back into this." He says, "All right." Christian's up to serve. He says, "Looks like I'll try out my new move, since I guess it's time." Christian would say, hits it right about 30 feet in the air. They're like, "What the? He can't jump that high." He says, "Damn right I can't." He jumps up until where his arm can reach the ball and smacks it down. They're like, he jumped so high that it's hard to see where that ball's gonna come for. It's gonna hit our heads. So it hits down, and Oikawa somehow blocks it, like hits it up. Person's like, "Ah, shoot." Gets hit in the head with the ball in midair. He goes falling back, and they're like, he's gonna break something. Once Christian's about 20 feet down, falling, he backflips somehow and lands on his feet and says, "Well, that hurt, but whatever." He says, Tanaka says, How do you jump that high?" He says, "I have no idea. It's like I'm on a trampoline, but I'm not." He says, "I still think that's unbelievable. You can jump longer than a great white shark is. Like, you can jump. I still don't know how do you do it." He says, "You'll find out one day." He says, "Serve, serve, serve, serve." He says, "Well, your boy, Mr. Oikawa hits the ball, and Kurashino is doing really good. Serve after serve from each team until the score is 30 to 30. You see, it's a match point now. Kurashino is sweating. It's either they do a timeout and ruin things and ruin each other's momentum, or they keep it in and let the momentum and let luck decide. He says, so basically, it's Christian's turn to serve. He says, "Here goes nothing. This is the last thing I'll ever do." He says, "Gravity repulse!" Hits it down, and it's hit up by Oikawa. Then he's about to smack it down, but then Hinata, Christian, and Suka block it. But then one of their players hits it up, and they go for a, and then it goes on Kurasuno's side. Then Oikawa, then out of nowhere, Kageyama says, "Hinata, let's go!" And when he's about to hit it, Hinata goes for a special quick attack, hits it, but it's blocked. Nishinoya, Kageyama, and Christian are all going for the ball. Even Christian's insane speed, he can't reach because of how tired he is. He says, "Ah!" He's about to hit it, but then it hits the ground. He says, "Dang it!" Alba Joe wins the freaking game. And that's it for Kurasuno. After that game, they are all deeply, deeply depressed. Christian not even showing up to classes now. He's like, and no one even knows where he is. When Kageyama and Christian says, "Sorry guys, that was my bad. I should have been faster. I shouldn't have been so tired during that. That's my fault." And then he just keeps on putting water on his head. It's too much. He's just drowning his head in water. Then when he walks out, he says, "Sorry, Hinata, that was my bad." Hinata tries to go to attack him, and he says, "Don't blame yourself for this." And he says, and then they'd all just get along with their little thing, and they'd still be depressed during this. They'd still be depressed during this. Christian not even going to classes. He'd be somewhere that no one knows. They say, "Hey, have you seen Christian anywhere?" He says, the last time I saw him is the time that I attacked him." He said, "You attacked him?" He says, "Because he was blaming himself for some stupid thing." He says, "Why did he blame himself?" He said that it was his fault that he couldn't get the ball. He said he should have been fast enough. He says, "No one else was fast enough. Why do you think he would be?" He says, "And where is he?" He says, I saw him at the vending machine thing after he got something, and I never saw him. And they're looking for him for the entire day. They can't even find him. But then it happens. Hinata realizes Christian's favorite spot to go to. He says, "Hey guys, I think I know where he is." He says, "Where?" He points to the sky. He points to the roof and says, "Why would he be up there?" He says, "He likes the sky. He likes to be up there. He loves being up there for some reason. I don't know why he does." He says, "Want to check if he's there?" He says, "How are we even going to get up there?" He says, "I have no idea how we're going to get up there. How did he even get up there?" Hinata says, "Well, I mean, he can jump high. He can jump super high. I'm pretty sure he could do that." He says, "This building is like 100 feet. He says, Hinata says, "Well, there is a piece that's like 10 feet that you can get onto, that he probably jumped onto." He says, "Well, let's go check it here." So on the roof, they see him putting this down, putting his foot. He has a tennis ball net, not a tennis ball, volleyball net, and a wall, puts like a barrier thingy behind it, and they say, "What are you doing?" He says, he's ignoring them, hitting the ball, slamming against it, until it finally cracks a little, and they say, "Dude, you're gonna crack it." He's still ignoring, smacking the ball even harder. When Hinata puts his shoulder and saying, "Are you okay?" Christian would shake him off and say, "Leave me alone." Hinata says, "You can't stay depressed forever." He says, "I had that. If I could just touched it, I would have made it." Why? He says, "Well, since you weren't coming, I came to bring you your own lunch that you left. For some reason on your desk, I don't know why you would." He says, "Thanks." He says, he sits on the roof just waiting. people are like, what is he doing up there? They see his feet dangling down. They're like, is he falling? They're like, oh no, this is the crime thing, y'all. He gonna fall off. He says, when everyone's worried, he says, guys, don't worry, I'm fine. Chris would get down after, and the team would eat lunch together. They'd all say, what did you bring? He says. Chris would open it up, and they all smell something delicious. He says, what even is that? He says, rice balls and sushi. I don't really know why I brought that. Like, guys, that's random. I just think that because, well, tons of anime characters have like sushi almost every show day. So I'm like, and they say, what the, is that instant ramen? He says, yeah. He says, did you, he says, how'd you even get this? He says, I packed it myself. He says, what? He says, I go out of town almost every weekend to go get the good stuff because no one bothers to go out and get it. Everyone's it's way too hard to get there. He said, get where? He says, someplace you will never find, my friend. He says, geez, just questions, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, it's just a question, bro. Like, it's just a question, bro. Like, chill. Chill, it's a question, bro. Person's like, what is wrong with you? You going crazy out here. Like, crazy, crazy, crazy. He says, what? So after lunch, they all go, and he says, so since you guys are on the roof, want to practice up here? He says, isn't that dangerous? He says, yes and no. He says, how did they even set that up? You see, I had this little capsule thingy that when I throw it, things come out. I can I'm kidding. This is not Dragon Ball and Naruto where you could just pop out things. Except kids can jump like 30 feet in the air. He just pulls it out. He says, it's an inflatable one. It's not real. He says, where did you get an air pump? He says, I don't know. He says, I don't even know where I found it. So after a while, after the Alba joke, finally they go and practice. And that's it for now, because that's all I watched up to.